You know, I don't think people actually think these days. I think 90% of the people in this world don't really stand still daily by what they're actually doing or where they're going. I mean this not even in the way of purpose. I mean this like this could be also used of like purpose. A lot of people, if I ask what their plans are in their with their life, they look at me almost, they look at me with a weird face. They look at me like, "What do you mean?" Like it's I mean, it's logical if you really think about it, but it's also pretty frightening to think about it. So, yeah, I think this video is going to become pretty much a bit of a rant, but I think you can learn a lot of stuff from what I'm saying right now. And if you can actually have the attention span to fully watch this video, you have my respect. If you don't, pause this video, come back later, but I think what I'm about to say can be hugely beneficial to your self-improvement journey or whatever. So, all of these social medias, they've been designed to take your attention away. You've probably already heard this. We live in an attention economy. The economy doesn't turn on money anymore. It turns on attention. All of these social medias, Instagram, Reddit, Netflix, Be Real, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Discords, why are they all free? If you really think about it, why are they all free? And a thing you're going to realize, when things are free, most often you are the product, and this is especially true with social media. You are the product with social media. Your data, they're basically trying to sell things to you. They're basically whoring you out every single time you search something up you like, or you know chat with someone. It depends on what social media, right? That information can be distributed to marketers to know what your interests are and know what you want to have, which keeps you consuming, right? We keep consuming. We live on this in this society where every single second we are consuming anything. When was the last time you actually put down your phone and thought? When was the last time you just sat still and just thought, or were mindful? If you're on self-improvement, it probably was pretty recent. It probably was maybe this morning when you meditated, or probably it will be the last day when you meditated, or maybe it was just when you stared at your wall. I don't know if a lot of people, if you guys do this, but I just stare at my wall sometimes. It sounds so stupid, but I stare at my wall sometimes, maybe for 10 minutes or something. Like, people look weird at me. Sometimes I did that. Like, I did that twice at school, but it was like, nah. I'll do it more at home because it's pretty weird to stare at a wall. But no, just learning to think is so important in this world, and so I'm almost frustrated. Like, we don't even get to learn how to think even at school. I'm I I really think that we should have a topic at school where we talk about how to have social skills and argue about stuff, how to give arguments. Because if you look at present day Twitter, it's like the cesspit of every single fucking person just screaming at each other without really having well built arguments. They're all arguing on emotional standpoints. They're all not arguing with mutual respect for each other, and that is a way how you actually achieve thinking. If you're going to be emotional, you can be emotional, but don't be emotional, first of all, in public. Don't be emotional when you're arguing. You can be emotional with with like your brothers, the people who you trust, but like, nobody's going to respect you if you're trying to win an argument on emotional basis. If you try to argue about something, actually have standpoints instead of just screaming at each other. That's one thing. And basically, it's really hard these days to actually have like a dialogue of two ideas, like respectfully trying to find a solution to what they're talking about. Like, not many people, I've met a couple of people, but not many people actually can think about what is being said and like respect the other person, and also just try to explain their standpoint, but in like a respectful way, not trying to immediately prove the person wrong, not immediately putting their ego on the line. This is another thing. If you put your ego on the line in any arguments, as How to Influence People has hopefully taught you, if you haven't, read it. It is one of the best books on social skills. It is the best book on social skills, if you ask me. You will get nowhere if you argue with your ego on the line, because you're just gonna try to win whatever it costs, and even if you succeed, nobody wins, because you were trying to help your friend and now you probably hurt your friend's feelings, because if the conversation is an ego battle, one of the two egos is most certainly gonna get hurt in some kind of way. But I'm getting pretty off topic actually. I was talking about thinking, and I think it is becoming more and more important to not only think when you're talking to people, to try to form your arguments, because this is a way how you can actually make good arguments by talking to people a lot. This is one of the ways how I, developed a lot of my standpoints, by just talking with people about things and listening to their viewpoints before immediately coming to a conclusion because I watched one video on something, right? And I think it is more important to also have that dialogue in your own head, to actually think about what you are saying. Think about just your thoughts, and just think like, is this thoughts actually true, or do I have like a warped perception? You have to make your mind the battleground between two different viewpoints to argue, and in a respectful way try to find a solution or a standpoint that works. That, like, you need to look at what are the facts, what are the assumptions, how did I come to this viewpoint? That is such a hard thing to do in this world. A way how you can start doing that, and I've been doing that recently, because this idea basically comes a lot from the book 12 Rules for Life of Jordan Peterson. But one thing I do a lot now is I ask myself just questions in my journal, and I try to answer them honestly. Just asking yourself questions can be a huge step towards actually learning to think, and it's pretty frightening to actually think that we now have to learn to think again. Like, if we look at our ancestors, they weren't stimulated with social media every single day. They weren't bombarded with, like, every single second getting a notification of YouTube, Snapchat, fucking Instagram. We need to learn how to think again, and using journals to just ask yourself questions like, what are the plans for this, is hugely beneficial. So another thing I'd like to get into is thinking about the diets we are eating. And I'm more talking about the information diets we are eating. Because if we want to improve our physical health, what do? We eat a healthier diet, right? You're not going to get fit if you eat junk food every single day. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. So have you ever thought about the diet we eat when improving our mental health? Like, what kind of information do you take in every single day? What kind of information do you? Let's make a pie chart, right? What percentage of the information you take in are from books? Books, for example, actually cite their sources, or most of them do. Most of them actually cite their sources with like numbers, and you can find their sources at the back of the book if you're interested in that. Look, I've never actually done that, but it really gives some credibility because you know what they know, what the authors are know what they're talking about. But if you look at like 90% of everything that is online on social media, how do you know something's actually real? Because we're almost guided by trying to get as many clicks as possible, trying to get as many conversions as possible. So how do we know what's real and what's just clickbait and what's trying to get our attention? And especially when we look at the news, right? I think watching the news is one of the worst things you can do for your mental health. It has made me like almost disappointed in mankind sometimes, just seeing the countless irrational discussions we're having. Just if we just all came together and actually had a debate on something respectfully, both on like both sides, and not come from a emotional standpoint, we would be so much further in our civilization than we are now. We probably would have found a better solution to climate change already, which I mean this that is a big statement to make because I have not done a lot of research on climate change. I should actually, but it is, one of the things to think about. Like, what if we all just came together and actually thought about what we are doing as a species? Now, as I was saying with information diets, like, how much information do you take in from news? How much information do you take in from Instagram? How much information do you take in from Twitter? And just think about that. Like, how much, like, probably for the normal person, for normal, if you're not a self-improvement, just some random Joe Schmo, probably 95% of what you take in comes from the internet. And I think that's an understatement. Now, even when you're on self-improvement a lot, just think about like what you consume every single day. Probably when you're starting, you probably also consume like 80% of what you take in and it probably goes down. I think for me, and maybe it's just the ego thing, maybe I'm overstating, but I think 40% of the information I take in right now is from social medias, from YouTube, from that entire thing. And I think most of the information I take in does come or my own thoughts or the books. I have a lot of books. I spent more than I should, I think, a lot of books, but I see them as an investment. So for the people who are like struggling with are these books worth it, I believe they do, because later down the line they will be able to, especially like money books, they will be able to repay you in the future. But I'm getting off track. How much information do you take in that is from social media? That is a good thing to think about. So yeah, if you were able to finish this video, I have respect for you, because, well, most of the people who clicked on this video probably weren't able to finish this video. So thank you for watching. I hope you learned something from what I just said, although it was a rant, granted. And yeah, the difference between winners and losers is that winners don't give up. Thank you for watching, and have an amazing day.